Okay. We are live on Biker in the Business, and there you go. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
There you go. You just gotta remind people to hit the mic button. Okay.
Howdy.
What's up, buddy?
You can tip that up.
Yeah. Biker and the businessman.
Yes, sir. How's your week?
Yeah. What's that?
I said, I know you worked hard today. How was your week?
All right. You know, I went to the races in Sonoma Saturday. Good thing because it rained yesterday and today, you know, but you know, I'm in a tank top and you're in a sweater. So, you know.
You must have the logs burning in the fire.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to save a biscuit, so I got my heater turned down low.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so you know, we're talking about drugs and homelessness and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I know everyone has a different perspective on it, but you know, I worked cleaning out homeless camps in California and down in Sacramento. I also worked around homeless people and in Los Angeles on Skid Row. And you know, some of them are all right. But I'd say 90% of them, they have a drug problem, you know, and that's why they're out there. And
I agree.
And I think the government allows the drugs to come into this country. They did let it flow in like water, you know. I mean, it keeps the prisons full. It keeps a certain amount of people on the street. All right, Pluto, how you doing? Carbon Connection. But you know,
guys.
You know, it keeps a certain class of people on the street. On it, they're not voting. You know, you know what I mean?
Well, it's you know, if you read any article, there's a real simple solution for homelessness. Give them a home. That's the simplest way to solve a problem. Homeless.
Give them a home.
Give them a place to eat.
Give them a home.
Give them a place to eat. A place so they can live. Because until you address, it's like bleeding. I believe, Mitch. The first thing that they do is they stop the bleeding. Right? If you're pouring blood, they're gonna stop the bleeding. Then they'll try and find out what the heck happened, you know, and what else needs to be done. So you have these cities, they come out with these great programs, but until they give them a home or a place to live, they're still homeless.
Yeah, but who's going to pay for that home?
I got an idea. I got an idea. How about we go get that $100 billion worth of equipment that we left in Afghanistan and use that as a down payment? Why don't we start having some, why don't we curtail a little bit of the money we send outside our borders until we take care of our home? I know if I give money when I go to church, I throw money in the coffer, you know?
Yeah, so do I.
But if my kids are hungry at home, I would use that money to feed my family first. Because you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your family before you can take care of other people. You know, it's just, but if you want to solve the homeless problem, there's only one way to do it. And that is to give them a home, to give them a place. And I don't mean a permanent. I mean, you have to solve the problem temporarily, then utilize wraparound services, whether it be mental health treatment, drug treatment, whether it needs child care. I mean, it can be as little as somebody doesn't have child care and now they're living in a car. Find out what needs to be done, create the support structure, and then work them out of that system to where they can, you know, remember, did you ever be a tutor in prison? Were you ever a tutor?
No.
Did you ever get one of them crowns? Well, remember the Laubach tutor program?
No, I don't remember that.
No. Well, Laubach was a missionary that brought English to a tribe in the Philippines that they'd discovered, and they were like thousands of years behind, you know?
Yeah.
And so he didn't have enough teachers, so he said, each one teach one. So if I taught you how to not be homeless, then you had to turn around and help somebody else who was homeless. And that's how it grew exponentially. But there's no answer. there's the current way they're doing it's not really helpful in this country.
No, but I mean, they just, personally, I think they should create areas for them to camp in. Like in LA, they camp on the sidewalks, they piss in the gutter, they shit in the gutter. Down here in Sac, they live on the rivers, underneath bridges, where the rivers go under, the creeks and all that shit. They live everywhere else too, but I mean, and it's a drug thing, bro, and it's just so I think they ought to just designate a spot for them to camp. I don't think they should give them homes. I think that maybe that could be something they'd have to earn that. Can't just go, hey, here's a house. I do agree though that we give billions of dollars every year to other countries to keep them on our side. To keep other countries' government supporting our government, right? Our government gives them billions of dollars. So, they should take some of that money and they can make cargo container houses, like prison cell, like a giant prison cell. And say, hey, you can camp out in here. They have like a community shower and shitter like they got at the beaches in California, so they could have a place to shit and piss and clean themselves up and maybe have a giant laundromat for them, but it's too simple, there's no money in it,
See, I know how that's a
simple thing.
Respectfully, brother, that's kind of the systems sometimes. That sounds like the systems approach sometimes, because they like to make us all one, right? But somewhere in that group of drug addicts, there's somebody who has no control, and due to a severe mental health issue, whether it be because of childhood trauma, maybe you're talking about a kid that was getting raped by pops when she was 3 years old, and so there's a whole lot more to the problem. So I know how easy it is to say they're a bunch of druggies until they get off drugs, but they're a bunch of druggies, a lot of them, because I mean, can you imagine living like that? Could you imagine have to?
No, I'm
the level of self-esteem. No, of course not.
I went in them camps. I cleaned out one spot. We cleaned out 25 tons of trash in one day out of one camp. No. On average, we got 8 to 10 tons of trash a day, buckets full of shit, bottles of piss, just unreal stuff. And they all got dogs. They all got pit bulls. They breed dogs, sell the puppies. But what I'm talking about is if they
predators are predators.
If they had a spot with little 10-foot cargo containers, little pads they could stay in, community bathrooms they could clean up, brush their teeth. Like when I was in LA, I was a pit stop monitor, and I used to monitor. In one spot down in the garment district, we had a portable shitter and a portable sink, and them dudes would come up out of their camps in the morning and brush their teeth, and take a dump, whatever, in the portable thing. And they were like, man, I'm glad you. It took them about a week because they thought we were cops at first, But after a while, like they were just like thinking, like, man, this is great, man. They brush their teeth. And so if they had a spot like that, like a spot, they could have counselors in there.
Yeah. I agree. That doesn't have to be a house. I'm just saying shelter. You have to get them to a place of security, where they can shut a door and lock it. Many homes, I think, are a perfect solution, an absolute perfect solution to the problem, because you can certainly put a lot of people in a small area so that wraparound services can reach even that much more people.
Yeah,
all I'm saying is
they're in abundance, bro. They got tons of them here. They all come over here from China. One shot deal. Boom. Because them cargo cans don't go back to China unless they're full of trash.
You can make a couple shelters out of one of those. I mean, the reality though, Mitch, is that in every encampment, you got a couple turds, scumbags that are preying on the people suffering from mental health illness. So I mean, you're always going to attract a predator.
Well,
you just got to take the predator out.
They busted gang members. The cops are going to do a sweep. they had gang members living in the homeless camps. They had like 45 pistol. They had like $13,000 cash. They had like quarter pound of heroin, bunch of crank, speed. They had all the drugs, all the cash and guns. So they're down there selling dope. And then the big homies do the collection, give more. So they had their little soldier boys living in the camp slinging dope. That's preying on them,
Preying on them, and I'm sure they were leaving the women alone, right? And the young kids that are there.
Rape the women,
scumbags,
and the girls. It's a bad situation. So if you had a little home situation that was all cargo containers, that'd be better. That'd be better than living in prison.
It'd be better. It'd be better even if they were cardboard boxes, as long as they had services there to help them make a progressed approach, a realistic and concerted effort towards getting their life back under control. Because clearly the first thing that happens with severe drug abuse, your life becomes unmanageable. And then secondly, what happens? Then it becomes an addiction of the mind and an obsession of the body, or an addiction of the body and obsession of the mind. Once that stuff takes control of your mind, and then on the opposite coin, you're dealing with people who there are some genuine mental health issues that are involved.
Sure, I see them. I've seen them every day. When I worked in LA.
Yeah, did you used to be a gold jacket up there at CMC?
I wasn't a gold, but I seen a lot of that there. But in LA and up here in SAC, I seen the the mental illness. I seen chicks laying down in the street, throwing a fit, talking to people that ain't there, the whole deal. But that's caused by a psychosis. That's a methamphetamine psychosis, and then it becomes permanent after a while. You know what I mean?
I tell you, there's, like you said, there's only one way to do it, and that is you have to deal with the major problem first, which is shelter. You have to give them shelter, because opening a clinic and telling them, hey, if you come to this clinic and get off drugs, then we'll help you get a home. That's just retarded. It just makes no sense. And I don't mean that word in any other way, but the fact that it's a politician who does have no grip on the reality, because you have to give them a shelter first.
They got shelters, but I mean,
the place that's theirs until they leave it. Not for 24 hours, Rich.
Containers to be the shit. I mean, if you stick them in a gigantic room full of bunks, that's like living in a 90-man dorm in prison. A lot of them guys would rather live in a tent somewhere on the sidewalk.
No, I mean it's
you know what I mean.
And you know what the problem is that I don't see him putting up tents on this Nancy Pelosi's nephew's front yard. Yeah. If he's that concerned with homelessness, how come he doesn't pitch some tents on that big ass front yard of his and let him say, come on down and go out there and serve him a meal? He don't care about the homeless. It's just another talking point for him.
Yeah.
I bet you this much.
That's what
I've been in the I've been in the Silicon Valley. There's none hanging around Google and stuff. It's all it is another opportunity to divide. It's another issue utilized to divide.
They're living in the streets. They're not voting. They're just sucking up free money. They give them like $200 food and $250, $280 cash every month on a little EBT.
Mitch, see, that's why I love you, man. You really are pretty smart, because maybe that's the solution. Why don't we give them a proxy worth 10,000 votes for every homeless person? And then you'd see the politicians down there doing something about this issue. So if every homeless person had a golden ticket that was worth 10,000 votes, they sure as hell wouldn't be homeless for long.
Yeah.
Not long at all.
They're not voting. They're too spun out on dope, or, a lot of them are alcoholics. I did meet some dudes that were veterans. They had some problems, because they were combat veterans and they had some issues from being in combat, and some of them were on dope. But, you know, most of the people I ran into, they're so loaded, man, and they're so wrapped up in their daily grind of I want to get high. They get their hustle, they get their thief on, get their cash, get their this. They don't care about this is live, Jason. They don't care about
What's up, Jason?
yeah, they don't care about voting, you know. And so, and the politicians know that. That's why they just keep feeding them, you know, EBT money. And, you know, the Catholic Church in Los Angeles gives out tents. They do sweep, take everybody's tents, run them off, and then they just go to church and get another tent, you know. But
well, that's why they gave me EBT cards. That way they can sell them for dope.
Some EBT money, but down here in Sag, bro, they're living right across the street from neighborhoods where people buy and rent homes, and those homeless camps, bro, they're full of mice, rats, rodents, roaches, you know, vermin of all kinds.
Disease, sure.
You know, now we have your mom here who is homeless, and I know he's a glass blower because he's making some glass for me for Christmas. He's a great dude. He was homeless and he worked his way up off the streets. He has a studio where he blows glass. He makes marbles, pendants, all kinds of neat shit. But he worked his way up off the street.
That's right.
You know, so because he wanted to, you know. And I talked to him. I met him at a function where I was selling shirts. And he was selling his glassware, and he's like, you know, he has something to do. He has something to focus on life. He's blowing glass. He has a little studio, and he's like, dude, I'll never go back to living on the streets because he has a reason to not be there. But he worked his way up off of there, you know.
Right on, man. Hats off to you. Hats
You know,
off to you, sir. That's
EBT for food so he can eat and try to live a decent life. He's not. But when I was in LA, man, they had dudes that were standby Skid Row, and one of them asked me an EBT, and I go, "What'd you say?" Because you want to sell your EBT card? I go, "Man, fuck you," you know. But they stand there and they buy their EBT card. It's got cash, food money on there, and they give them dope for it. You know?
And they give them 50 cents on the dollar, though.
Yeah, they give them 50 cents on the dollar, if that, and they're giving them 50 cents on the dollar worth of dope, not cash. And then they go down to the homeless camp, and people drive in and pass out food and water and clothes to all these homeless guys. They have no incentive to get out of there because they're getting high, they're getting food, they're getting clothes, you know.
And you know what's interesting, Mitch, is they have the technology to stop that selling EBT card stuff. They have the technology easy because they can put your photograph on it and that would instantly upload. And I mean,
yeah,
but there's a reason, you know, there's always a reason. And but the reasons don't make much sense. Don't make much sense. So if they squander, because I tell you one thing I did discover is there's a lot of good people who care, and they're doing everything they can to try and make their community safer for their children by helping with this problem. And then there's a lot of people who talk a good game, but they just don't put the effort behind all their bullshit.
You know, I was in LA. They had this guy used to come every Sunday, and he'd go down a side street. He gave out like 250 bags from Carl's Jr. Had a hamburger, French fries, bottle of water, and a piece of fruit. He gave out like 250 bags out of the trunk of his car every Sunday.
Wow.
And he just give them out and split. Then you had other people that show up with pizzas. They set up a table. They get out there with a film crew, some local, you know, church, you know, evangelical. Oh, look at us! How good! And they're filming it. Look how great we are giving pizza to the homeless people. I'm like, man, and then they leave all their fucking pizza boxes and shit there, big piles of trash, you know. So there's a big difference in how people do stuff, you know. The guy with the Carl's Jr. shit, you know.
Thanks a lot, Jason, for what you're saying. Be looking out, Jason. Hey, I saw a remark in there by Pluto. I was wondering what got him to the streets. He said that he got himself off homelessness. What happened to you, Pluto? How did you end up on the homeless to begin with?
Yeah, pizza food. Anyways, yeah, you know, a lot of guys wise up and get off the streets. I mean, I know guys that are in a program, you know, and they're like, they lived on the streets. I know a guy who's a business owner right here in my town. He told me, hey man, I was eating out of garbage cans, you know, living like an animal. And now he's a business owner and he's doing real well, you know, and he's been clean for many years, you know. So there it is.
Well, you know what they say, brother. They until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, they're on drugs and drinking. That'll certainly do it. It led us to prison. So I guess that's another level of homelessness too.
Yeah.
That's not my house I lived in.
You know, you know, I always thought we should print up pamphlets. When I was in Donovan, I thought about, you know, we should print up some pamphlets and say, you know, if you want to get off the streets, you could commit these crimes right here. We'll only give you like 1 year, 2 years in prison, 3 years in prison. And then when you get out, you know, when you get out of prison, list all the benefits you get while you're in prison and list all the benefits you get because you've been to prison, you know, and then pass them out to all the homeless people, you know.
And what? Well, if they ask me the kind of benefits we got while in prison, bro, that'd be a short ass list.
That's because we were never getting out of prison at that time. I thought, well, you know, we could flood the prison, you know, with a bunch of homeless drug addicts looking to get a free ride when they get out of prison, you know.
Yeah, and send them to the towns of our choice, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's you know, it's you know, and believe me, don't the laughing about it has not. I'm not laughing about this issue because this issue is we got a whole lot of kids sleeping in cars, and that's just not right under any circumstance or at any level. And you know what else is not right? You have CPS and you have government agencies that take kids from their parents for no freaking reason other than the fact that that parent didn't kiss their ass in some interview or didn't kiss their ass when they were asked them to do something. Because my brother's going through it right now, and he takes fantastic care of his boys, but because he won't kiss this person's ass, they're just all they are is a nightmare. They give people get too much power. Let's take the power away from those people that break families up, and let's instill that power into people that put families back together. See, if you want to start creating changes in a society, you have to give power to the right people right now, because what created this problem is the wrong people have the power.
Yeah,
that's the problem. If you roll it all back, where's the drug problem from? What does it cause? Where's the drug problem from, Mitch? You know what I mean? Where does it all start? What is it, the chicken or the egg that came first? I don't know. Whatever it is, you need to give the power to the right people.
Drugs come from Mexico because they made, you know, when bikers used to manufacture speed and all that shit. I mean, it wasn't like it is now, you know. And now they let it come in from Mexico, and they let it come. You cannot tell me that the United States government could not stop the flow of drugs in this country overnight if they wanted to. Overnight. They could send the Marines down there and wipe them dudes out in less than a week. You know, and that'd be the end of that shit. But they like it because it keeps the prisons full. It keeps the cops busy. It keeps prison guards working. You know, it keeps the parole officers working. Keeps all the social services motherfuckers working. You know what I'm saying?
I tell you, it's I couldn't agree more as far as the motivation behind it. You know, because you know, they used to say something. I remember me and Mike Baker, we wrote a song because, you know, I used to be a prison musician, you know, and had an alternative rock band for almost 20 years, Mitch. And I think you might have heard me play it a time or two, but but we wrote a song called "This Shit Is Fucking Bullshit."
Yeah.
And there was a verse in it that says, you know, because they were going to pass a bill, right, that was supposed to help lifers. But the line says, "We're really tired of hearing about Bill 128. Tell us more, asshole, when you hit the gate." Because the fact of the matter is they keep telling that the laws will change one day, but who will change something that affects their pay? And that's the key. Doing the right thing, reducing prison population, all that, that is axiomatic to it's the complete opposite of what they want. If you open a company, if I open a business, what do I want to do? I want to expand market share. I want to grab as many clients as possible, and then I want to be on the growth. Then I want to grow. Dealing with the homeless issue, that doesn't support their agenda.
No.
Because prisons, they want to grow too, and prison guards, they want to promote, and the unions want to get stronger so that they can get greased on the backside. And some of them probably get greased on the backside both ways. But the bottom line is that the reality is that they're not going to change something that makes them weaker.
But it's not just that. It's all, look at all the companies that support the prisons, all the clothes, all the food, all the products at prison. You know, got to understand, guys in prison is a prison with 5,000 guys in it, right? All those guys, they use all the same products that you use on the street, and it has to come from someplace. They get contracts to provide that shit to the prison. They don't want to see it change either.
There's a whole lot of people eating from that trowel.
Sure, I mean
it's a big trowel.
So I don't know, man. It's a big. No one wants to address the issue, and you know, meanwhile, you get more and more people. What happened here?
What?
This thing popped up.
Oh, hi guys.
You get more and more people spun out on dope. You know, more and more drugs on the street. Go ahead. You know,
right here.
I tell you one thing, Mitch. If you look at the issue from an economic standpoint, things are good. They're sure not going to have the money to deal with that issue anytime soon, based on the policies they've had over the last 2 years, given the fact that last year was the first year in the history of our state that more people left California that came here. So that's going to reduce the tax revenue. So they can't solve the problem now. They sure as hell ain't going to be able to solve it when they got less money to do it with.
But look, bro, the last 2 years, California has a tax surplus of $75 billion.
You won't be saying that next year, brother.
Well,
I'm telling you right now.
So.
Because you know what? Let's talk. So homeless, right? Well, there's a lot of open places there were initially in the Bay Area. Why? Because as soon as they could work from home, all those high tech and high paid jobs, they bailed California. They went to Nevada and Arizona where they're not paying state tax. And they're still leaving by droves. So all of the volunteers that my hats are off to, the organizations like the Coalition on Homelessness, anybody who is an NGO, which is a non-government organization, my hat's off to you, because you care. Anybody that comes from the government, and they have a hidden agenda. Well, sometimes it's not even hidden; it's just right out in front.
Oh yeah, there's nothing hidden. Their agenda is just to make money.
No,
you know,
when you have people that going in their own pocket, and doing what they can, even them. If you, because I think I sent you an article, and it said the number one solution to homelessness is homes.
Yeah.
It's, you
know, they're building, you know, I live, El Dorado Hills is building homes. You know, I don't think you could touch one for less than $500,000. You know?
Yeah. You know, and let me tell you something. If there's any of our followers that are in the stock market or they think that this economy is going good, you better jump out of there before midterm elections next year, because there's going to be a huge market adjustment, because you just can't give money away at the level they've been giving it away.
No.
You just can't raise value of homes for no reason whatsoever other than inventory. I mean, my house went up a lot of money for nothing. And all of this without increasing anybody's pay.
Yeah.
So how can I afford a home worth more money if I'm not getting more pay?
But
so in economics, they call it the invisible hand of the marketplace.
They're building
invisible hand of the marketplace.
Only a certain group of people can afford the houses that they're building.
No.
And downtown Sacramento, where they got all the homeless people, they're building fucking condos. They're building high rise. Well, not super high rise, but medium rise building, office buildings, right where the homeless people live. I mean, they're not
for reurbanization of the cities. It's a
gentrifying shit,
cycle.
They're gentrifying, and they just shuffle them around, and it's just it's bullshit.
I agree. I agree that it's I know one thing. If you really want to solve the problem, let somebody who's walked through the problem and found traction and turned their lives around, let's give them the power to solve it. Like Pluto, like mom or your mom. Let's give people who have walked through the fire the power and the authority to go solve the problem, because they know what needs to be done. Mitch, you know what I mean? They know what needs to be done. Just like you and I know what needs to be done to change the prison system and what should be done. You know what I mean? And we know who should be let out, and we know who should be left there forever plus a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but that's the problem, is the power's in the wrong hands. Again, it's always in the wrong hands, buddy.
Well, people vote for these guys, But the thing is, the people with money are, you have a concentration of people in certain areas. They're voting for guys that are gonna keep their agenda rolling.
What's up, Rick James? That's right, bud. Hey, Salty Rider, that's a good point about Mike Thompson too. If he's just another predator that was in it to take advantage of people.
Sure.
So fuck him. He's a scumbag, right where he belongs. Bottom line.
Preying on homeless veterans and shit and people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it just. So here's somebody who's been to prison, right? He's been there, right? And for the grace of God, he wasn't on the streets homeless, but he saw the situation, and he had an opportunity to do something positive to help them, and he just preyed on them, just like the politicians, just like the fucking dope dealer, gangbanger, motherfucker, guys selling them. He was preying on them too. I mean, it's just
but you know what, Mitch?
Lowest common denominator.
But you know what? If we were on the prison yard, and if I were helping people get out of prison in the law library and helping people write 602s, and you were out on the yard slinging dope, who would be a bigger target?
Yeah.
They want the madness, brother.
Yeah.
They want the madness. And so they don't want people to fight. They want to take. And I'm not saying that you were doing that. I'm just saying is if though we played those two roles, you're helping somebody do 602s. Oh, this fucking dude is a threat to the safety.
Target for the cops, and then the guy slinging the dope, he's a target for the dope fiends.
Yeah,
Everyone's gonna try to figure out how to get in his pocket, and
go rat on him,
and get over on him, and
then drop a kite.
hey, I think it's funny if everybody thinks there's this big convict code, and nobody tells
me. Can I get a gram, homie? I promise. A female, homie. And then a kite goes in the mailbox.
Yeah, the convict code is run up a fucking debt, and then one of two things: drop a kite on the guy you owe money to,
or turn yourself in.
Or if you got a little bit of influence, then you start a riot with another race that gets locked up and put in the hole and transferred, so they don't have to pay their debt.
Yeah. Hey, I was gonna take care of it, man, but I got locked up. And my family, they all died since I came here.
Yeah.
And I no longer have any help.
Yeah,
but I would have paid you. I would have paid you the next Monday, like I promised.
Yeah.
It's not my fault, bro. It's not my fault.
Second Tuesday of next week.
Or fourth draw.
It's the same shit on the street, though, man. I'm telling you, I seen dudes come strolling in the homeless camp, all pressed and creased, like big dude, and then a couple little dudes, the shot collars. They went to a tent, bro, and dropped some shit off and rolled out with some cash. It's just like
Gregor, what's up, brother?
They're just preying on the lowest of society, man. People that need the most help are getting preyed on by all sides, bro.
Absolutely. It's a shame
Yeah.
because you know what? Unless you are, you know how I feel. Unless you're a rapist or child molester, then you know you need to be left alone. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
obviously, you got your own madness you got to deal with, and you got to make yourself better yourself. But if you're in there for one of those crimes, then I say go prey on them. Go prey on them fucking weirdos. Pray on them hard, you know. But the reality is that most people just, you have to give somebody the opportunity to become part of the society of second chances. How many years did we try and become part of that society? And there's a lot of people in homeless camps that just want that opportunity as well.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
But
I had a dude when I was in LA. I had a dude that came into some money, and he went down to homeless camp, and he talked to this dude. The guy's like, "Yeah, I got a divorce. My old lady took everything I had. Blah blah blah. Lost my job. You know, he wasn't a dope fiend. He's like, you know, so he bought him a little Coleman stove and a Foot Locker and a brand new tent and all that shit. And what's up, Mark? And you know, the guy started crying. He goes, what are you crying for? He goes, man, when I go out and look for a job, they're going to steal all my shit. So, I mean, homeless people can't even rely on other homeless people to, you know, everybody preys on everybody in that lower run of society. You know, they're all trying to just scratch and claw to get every little crumb, you know. And then you got politicians that are preying on them by using them for political gain, and then you got, you know, criminal element preying on them for you know, it's just a sad deal, man. And you know, the bottom line is Joe Citizen, who lives in a neighborhood down here in Sacramento, he's got these dudes living in his neighborhood. And you know, it's decreasing their property value, it's bringing vermin shit into their neighborhood, theft, all kinds of stuff. You know, my boss got a brand new pair of boots stolen right off his front porch. You know, we found them in a homeless camp that we cleaned out. And needless to say, we cleaned out the dude's whole camp. But I mean, it's just
well, you know how I feel about a thief, brother.
yeah. Well, that's how they live. You know, they steal. I mean, we probably got 8,000 to 10,000 bicycles that we sent to the dump out of homeless camps. You know, we got 4,000 or 5,000 needles off the street every month. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's just it's a sad deal, man. How do you solve it?
Well, you certainly I think herding them to have them all located in one place, that's kind of a stupid policy, because the communities are overwhelmed. They don't have the resources. So I mean,
right now they're spread out all over, but if you put them in one spot, then you can help them.
Yeah, but
help, you know.
It's not going to work like that, though, Mitch, because they're going to say we don't have enough budget to help. We can help 500. You know what I mean? So there has to be. It's kind of like a refugee camps. You know, and refugee camps, they put them together and then they farm them out a little to each nation. Well, you're going to have to do the same thing for the states.
Yeah. In Sacramento, they got 2 gigantic shopping malls. You know, the malls, the indoor malls, they're closed. They're empty.
I think you're going to have a couple of prisons too.
Well, we got Tracy, but look, shopping malls are in Sacramento. They're empty. There are no stores in there anymore. All they got to do is turn them into gigantic shelter. Each little store could have its own little, you know what I mean? Then they could put showers in there, bathrooms, you know, help guys. They could have turn some of them little shops into counseling centers, medical setups, so they could give them dental work, medical treatment, counseling, and give them a place to live.
Hey, you know, Tashunka makes a point, right? That until you create an economic system without greed, right? Be
Yeah.
hard. But you see, the problem is in a capitalist society, business is run on two emotions, either fear or greed. That's what runs business, either the desire to get rich or the fear that you're not going, that your business is going under. That's what creates the, so you either, right now, a lot of businesses are being run under fear. And those that have courage and run it under greed in a good way, they're the ones that make money. So you can't have a society that doesn't have greed, but you can have the ugly side of greed taken out of it just by being a decent human being, just by focusing on what you can do to help somebody, not what it's like. I was going to tell a joke. It's called like the rabbi and the Catholic priest walking down the street, right? And the priest says, "Hey, Rabbi, a little boy's walking this way, right? Am I going in uncharted territory right here? Maybe.
I don't know. You got to be careful.
Maybe I have to better tie off on that one.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to share it in writing. I don't want to get us banned on YouTube on the second one, but the reality is that you either want to help somebody or you don't. You're either pregnant or you're not. There's really no in between on this issue. You can't decide I want to help. I only want to help the people that have black hair. I don't want to help people with brown hair.
Well, they want to help people that have money and vote for them because they want to help them make more money.
Yeah.
They don't want to help people that don't vote. They just want to give them more access to drugs so they stay loaded. They don't know what's going on.
Man, and boy, look what Mark McGregor wrote, bro. If that's not the reality, I don't know what is.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. It's we spend trillions of dollars in America, on defense. And I love the military. I love
People.
veterans, but the politicians that do what I mean, they're abusing our military, and they just, Eisenhower warned about it. You know what I mean?
Well, what they need to do is they need to see what happens to Mitch is that if you're in a country, a true democratic society, right? If the seat comes open and you get more votes than the next guy, then that means that you were elected by the people.
Yeah.
Who the hell are them to say because you got screwed and tattooed and set up by a system that does it more often than not, because you got arrested because you were standing next to somebody that got hurt in a bar fight, that makes you unqualified now to hold office? I think that even makes you more qualified because you've experienced the worst side of it. So, the fact of the matter is
But here's
when we
another.
vote for a team captain when we were playing football or baseball, we didn't ask for no background checks. The one who got the most votes won. Simple.
Here's the deal.
We should do that in our political.
When I was working in Sacramento, I worked for Forensic Clean. We would go into camps, right? We had certain camps we go into 2-3 times a week, and they all knew us. They'd say, "Hey," they put all their trash bags in one spot. We would give them trash bags. We'd give them water. Then we'd take their trash, And I tell them, "Look, man, don't fill these trash bags up full of piss and this and that and the other." They'd be like, "Yeah, cool." They liked us. We always got along with the homeless people. During COVID, when it first hit, I hit some camps, and there were some people that were sick. I'd wear a mask, keep my distance. I'd give them water. We'd go by every couple of days and check on them. We knew they had COVID. Be like, "Hey, see if they're still alive, see if they're okay." Always giving them water. We always take out their trash, and I don't mean just trash. I mean buckets of shit, piss,
Horrible
trash, everything. Right? Clean out their camps for them. Sometimes the cops would evict them, then we'd clean out whatever they leave. But most of the time, we would just clean out the camp and give them trash bags, water, dog food. So the reason I lost my job was they also have people that don't know what we were doing. All they see was when people got evicted, that's all they saw. So they would go down there and protest because they want them people to be able to live on the sidewalk and vandalize and thief from neighborhoods, piss and shit in the gutters. They don't care. They think that's cool. So they would protest, and the guy started guys started threatening us. And like a dummy, I pulled out my knife because the guy threatened to kill us, and it was on film, and I lost my job. But those people that protest, they don't give a shit about one side or the other. They're just down there protesting, pissing a bitch, just to piss a bitch. You know?
Well, you know what, Mitch? They won't let animals. You can't keep animals in the conditions that they allow the homeless to live in without a bunch of cops coming and a bunch of human rights people showing up and taking those animals, giving them a bath, and getting them a clean place to live. So we'll treat human beings worse than we treat animals. And I can understand it because I love my dog more than I love most people. In fact, I can understand that completely. And I'm being as serious as a heart attack.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's okay to allow a human being to live in squalor, but it's not okay to allow a dog. I think it really, people need to stop and think, what this comes down to a value issue. It comes down to a belief system, and it comes down to a moral. I believe it's a moral and ethical test of who we are as human beings, because you're only as good at people as you are as you treat your seniors, and treat your kids. You're no better than that. The problem has to be solved.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
But
But
I mean,
the fact is that if I used to take care of them cats at CMC, you remember, right?
yeah.
When I got there was a huge colony of cats, and there wasn't enough food for them. They had feline leukemia running through them. And what happens is I saw some dude throw a rock at the cat. And I said to myself, I'm going to end up fucking killing somebody on this yard over them throwing a rock at a cat, and I'm never going to go home. And so I put a system together where I could start doing something about the population, and it worked out well. had more freedom than anybody, and I had all the staff were loving it because I was walking around with these beautiful little kittens I would domesticate. But I started using it for good things when somebody lost a loved one, kind of like what you just endured. I would bring them a kitten that needed to be bottle fed, and they would have something else to focus their mind on. And it may not sound. I remember when I went to the board, they said the Commissioner Laban said, "Well, I see all these chronos in here on these cats." He goes, "I really don't know how to add that into the record." He goes, "I really don't know who it really matters to." And I said, it mattered to the cats. That's who it fucking mattered to. I don't give a fuck about you, motherfucker, or what the fuck you think about it. It mattered to the cats.
Yeah, for guys who don't know, we live in a dorm. This was an ex-military base from during World War II. They used it for a medical hospital. Guys come back wounded. There were 90-man dorms, wide open. There were cats everywhere living up underneath the dorms and all over the place. There were hundreds of cats in that place. And so Jeff would catch them, give them a nurse. She'd take them out, have them spayed or neutered, clip their ear, and bring them back because they also kept the mice population down, But it was pretty neat.
They almost let me die because of that cat bite.
Yeah. There was that one cat used to lay there on the road. He was kind of blind. He'd just watch everybody going to chow. I forgot his name.
Yeah, that was the white cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Smooth. That was Mr. Smooth.
He had a name tag.
That was Mr. Smooth, but he had a name tag, Mr. Smooth.
CMC West, Mr. Smooth. He had a name tag, dude.
He used to come down to the canteen. I fed him every day.
Yeah,
my dog has a name tag too. It says Bud, ladies man, extraordinaire.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that if everyone just, man, it doesn't take money. What's interesting is If money were the only thing that we needed to solve the problem would already be solved.
Yeah.
But it takes hours. It takes
Problem with
somebody's
money
commitment.
is people see a huge amount of money and they go, well, how can I get a piece of that? They come up with some fake ass shit so they could get a pocket full of money without really solving the problem too. And like I said, then protesters, they just want to protest because my boss was basically he wasn't a nonprofit, but he was an LLC. He got a paycheck. My boss, he really didn't make a lot of money. He paid us prevailing wage. Everybody got a pretty nice paycheck. He got a paycheck. So they didn't like him having a contract with the state or the county to do that. They're like, hey, this guy's got a contract for X amount of money. It was a lot of money. But what they don't understand is that's a lot of work. What we were doing was a lot of work. You think about taking 25 tons of trash out of one spot in one day.
That's pretty funny, Salty. Right?
It's filthy, nasty, so they didn't like him having that money. They want that money for something else. So they send their fucking protesters out there under the guise of being journalists. It's just bullshit, But
really, the fact of the matter though is that's the problem is that the power is in the wrong hands. If you want to let somebody solve the homeless problem, let the homeless people, or formerly homeless, give them the money, give them the power without political influence, and I think you'd see the problem would be solved. They know what needs to be done because they endured it. They knew what they were lacking, they knew what they needed, and they could replicate it. And they'd also know who's full of shit and just push them back up on out there. So,
it's just people need to wake up and start voting for the right shit and start protesting for the right shit.
I think we just need a common sense party. Not Republican, not Democrat. Let's have a common sense party.
That could be the name of it, the Common Sense Party. Remember back in Roosevelt, Teddy started that thing called Know Nothings or some shit?
Yeah.
Used to be a
few things. The Roosevelt, you gotta remember he started the New Deal and stuff too, which started giving away all the money, buddy.
No, not that Roosevelt. I'm talking about Teddy.
All right.
I think Teddy was his great uncle or some bullshit. He built the Panama Canal.
Yeah. Then right before that, you have the Society of the Doers.
Yeah.
There's those that do.
Yeah.
And there's those that talk about doing, and there's those that don't do either. But the fact of the matter is I know for a fact, Mitch, that I could go in and solve the correction problem in the state of California. I know for a fact. Because I have the economics background. I know how to run a business, and I would go in there and solve that problem. And what a joy it would be, because the first thing I do is I'd wreck that fucking union.
I'm going to tell you, before the union got strong, I went to prison about 10 years before you, right? Mm-hmm. So when I went to prison, every prison had vocational training. Every prison had some type of counseling. Of course, CMC in Vacaville had major counseling because medical facility was
programs, CAT-G.
Yeah, but every prison had a little bit of counseling, a lot of vocational, a lot of education. Like in San Quentin, there'd be guys getting stabbed and killed and gangs and drugs and all that. But it didn't affect guys going to college, guys going to get their GEDs, or guys going to vocational training. They didn't lock the yard down for that shit because guys that were programming, they got to go program. So I had a friend took electrician's trade there. He came an electrician. He's an electrician on the street. Came up here and rewired my house for me. I took milling cabinet. I took plumbing. And once the prison guards union got strong, they did away with all the fucking trades. Then they were forced to bring them back. So they brought back bullshit trades just to say they had them. But back in the day when I went to prison, before the governor and the unions realized how much money was involved with prison, I learned, I graduated milling cabinet in DVI. Then I went to the carpenter shop, built cabinets, and then I went to prison industry, wood products, so I could further my trade. So theoretically, I should have got out of prison, having learned a trade, got a GED, learned a trade, practiced that trade in prison, and boom, I should have been able to go home and continue working in that trade on the street. That's how prison used to work.
I agree.
Before money became a part of prison. Once money and greed became part of it, unions, all that shit.
I never understood why there wasn't a job placement office right at the prison. So 6 months before you were going home, you paroled to a job.
Why not?
Makes sense to me. I think that would be a job for a teacher, other than teaching English as a second language to somebody that you're deporting anyway.
Yeah.
You're deporting him anyway.
Yeah.
So why not? It just make no sense.
You know, when I worked in Skid Row in Los Angeles, I ran into, 4 or 5 guys came up to me that knew me in prison. Some of them I remembered, some of them I didn't, but they were down there living on Skid Row.
Wow.
I mean, why? Prison's supposed to be a place where you learn how to live out in society. They're not teaching guys that now. They're teaching guys how to shoot dope, how to make knives, how to fight, how to politic, how to gangbang, and that's what they're sending home.
It's
unless they're really good at it, they're going to end up, back in prison or living on the street.
Well, I don't know if you noticed this thing I'm wearing. I was just noticed that we're talking about homeless and drugs. And can you see this right here? What does it say?
Wave Rider Nurse.
Yeah, that's about $100 million marijuana grow in Salinas, California. I guess you guys owe me. I'd give them some frontline stuff right there. But I mean, it's if you consider yourself a business, then what you should do is you should take an inventory of your assets and your liabilities. And if your assets are stronger than your liabilities, well, then by golly, keep on doing what you're doing. But if your liabilities are more than your assets, well, then I think it's time for you to take a very long, hard, and truly introspective look at your life. And it's as simple as that. I can see a temporary problem for anything. I've had temporary problems pop up out of nowhere. But going homeless, that's not the solution. Not the solution. You need to deal with what got you to the homeless to begin with. And so those are the services that they need. And but once again, I know one thing: if I was living on the street and I had to shit in the gutter and I had filthy, ugly people around me, then all I would want to do is get high, because I'd be so fucking mad at my life. You know what I mean? Probably be so disappointed with my life that I would not give a fuck and I would just want to get high. So you got to get them out of this. You got to get them in a shower and get them in a place of safety, security, so that they can lock the door at night and not worry about that little gangbanger that's going to come over and rape them or something at 2 a.m. or beat them up again.
Well, my job in Skid Row, bro, was monitoring the public bathrooms. Believe it or not, they paid me $16 an hour. I allowed one person in the bathroom at a time. I documented male, female, what time they went in, what time they came out. And because the gangs were charging people to use the bathrooms, they were selling drugs in the bathroom, they were pimping women in the bathroom. So they hired us to monitor the bathrooms and control them. And some of them homeless people, were in tears, saying, "Man, we're so grateful you guys are here because we could never use the bathroom." One kid came up with his bicycle and he goes, "And the bathroom has an automatic door and it wouldn't open. I had to call service, I go, "Man, our bathroom's out of order." He goes, "Oh man, I go, "What's the matter?" I go, "They got a bathroom down the street there." He goes, "Yeah, but if I go in there, they're going to steal my bicycle." They were just so grateful for us just to have a place to use the bathroom in peace. I mean, that's
Wow.
crazy, bro.
Hey, you know what though? It's see that see he trusted you though. He trusted you, convicted murderer, 38 years in state prison.
Yeah.
You would leaving his bicycle with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's make a little shout out at that point, brother. That you know what?
All the guys, thanks for the 5 points school. It's a school. I forgot the but it's
keys.
5 keys, excuse me. They started this program, but it came from San Francisco. You know, they started down there and then they moved it down to LA, and 5 keys. That's what it was. It's and 5 keys started in the county jail. It's a school. They started teaching guys school in county jail. Then they branched out to the street. I went down to East LA, interviewed. So all the guys working there were all ex-convicts. A lot of us were ex-lifers. And it was great, you know. So, but we had to monitor the bathrooms just so people could use them, because the gangs were charging people money to use the bathroom. They give them like 5 squares of toilet paper, and just ridiculous, man. But yeah.
Well, I know one thing. You can never have too much toilet paper.
Yeah. We got 1 roll a week in prison. Huh?
Yeah.
Roll.
I'll buying an extra one. 2 soups.
Yeah, 2.
Sometimes you had to pay 4 if there was a shortage.
Yeah.
But
that's
one thing you didn't even barter with. You just said, "Here, I'll take it."
I wonder if the toilet paper shortage during COVID affected prison. Huh?
Well, I was in then, buddy. You got to remember, I just got out last year.
So how did it affect prison?
They still just got 1 roll.
Yeah.
There was times when it would show up a day late or something, but they must have a stockpile of that stuff beyond your imagination. But
Nasty paper.
we always had the same issue. But what it affected is the soap. The soap went away.
Did it?
Yeah, because they couldn't get it. So
they don't give out.
You had to buy your own soap.
Wow.
For the most part. And they would ask you when they went around and say, "Hey, bro, if you don't need the soap, please let it go to the people that can't afford to buy any at the store, because there was a shortage."
Wow.
So it's but you learn, you know what? You learn how to you can get a long way with that single ply though. You just gotta be real careful, because you can't push too hard.
I'm gonna tell you something. I've been out of prison. I've experienced the best toilet paper on the market, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's the little things in life that matter, and your finger going through the toilet paper is one of them.
Well, yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, the bottom line is, you and I aren't going to solve the drug problem or the fucking homeless problem, but we got some good ideas. If people want to help, what, they can write letters to their senators, their city councilmen, their congressmen, and their chicken shit, stupid ass governor.
Yeah. And his first mate.
Yeah,
his first mate. I think I call mine a wife. I don't know.
Mate.
Yeah. So it's
hey, listen.
Reality is that you're right.
You hear that? It's raining like cats and dogs here.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, as long as politicians are in it for the money, they're not going to solve it, No.
Well, I don't think he's in it for the money, because his aunt has been so good at picking stocks that she's turned a $200,000 a year job into a fortune. So
yeah, it's worth like $25 million, some shit like that.
That's on the low side, buddy. The estimates are closer to 100 million. So in stock and bonds and hidden shit.
Yeah.
So she should be in prison too.
And guys like us are just Scraping along.
Well, we're scraping along, but you know what? The bottom line, though, is we are scraping along. That's the bottom line.
You know, I can
And,
look at
and we got a great community. We're building community, and you know, one day this community is going to be large enough to where we can make an impact on some issues that are affecting our communities. And when then that day happens, then maybe the common sense party will be something that we can develop. Because Einstein said the most uncommon thing was Einstein was Mark Twain, one of them. The most uncommon thing is common sense.
Yeah.
And you know, but boy, wouldn't it be great just to have a few guys and gals that just led with common sense?
I'm gonna tell you something. It would be awesome if we had enough people on here that could vote, and we say, "Hey, here's an idea," blah 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 blah, and guys got out there and voted and made it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it'd be different. See, prison, they promote to their level of incompetency. So if you want to talk to somebody smart, you better talk to just a regular old screw on the front line. Because the warden, he's the dumbest ass there is. And if you really want to talk to somebody more stupid, and go above them. The reality is that that's how a bureaucracy continues to thrive, is because they mold these
Well, you know,
individuals.
You know what he said?
I'm sorry?
G. Gordon Liddy. He was FBI guy. Went to prison over Watergate. He was in federal prison. They were fucking with him. But he said, basically, prison guards are stupid. And the warden is all he is a prison guard who's been at that prison longer than any other prison guard. So he's the stupidest one of all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Promote to the level of incompetence.
Yeah. Yep. Promote.
Who? It's a sad state of affair, but I tell you one thing. I wish there was a way to pull the people who are truly suffering as a result of outside influences, like the kids who are now adults, who were molested and who were not protected by a society that's supposed to protect its kids. You know, they say anyone can have a kid, but it takes a community to raise them. And so for some of these people that are homeless, the communities failed them. Our country failed them in the same way they failed you, Mitch, in the same way they failed us, me, the same way they failed most everybody who's in our community. And you know what? When is the day going to come when people say, I'm not fucking tolerating this shit anymore, and we're going to do something about it?
Well, you know, that's why we're on YouTube, Jeff. And
yeah. Well, please push that like button. Please share. Please let people know that it, you know, the more of us that get together, the more powerful our voice can be. And let's try and make some change that makes sense. Instead of talking about it, let's be about it. You know what I mean? Let's do something about these problems before we die. You know what I mean? Because most people on this site, we got more years behind us than we have in front of us. What a legacy that would be, huh? To say, hey, they made a difference. Yeah. And for the ones that don't say it, fuck them anyway. Who cares?
Well, you know,
get out the way.
You know, it's about time to wrap up tonight, but glad everybody tuned in. We have a different perspective because you know, we've both been to prison, and I'm a biker.
And I'm the businessman.
And we have 290.
Good seeing you, brother.
God
bless you, everybody.
Thank you. Everybody.
Please like community, family.
Please get word out. Biking a businessman. Let's build this community, folks. The biker and
the businessman.
And we'll see you next week, folks.
Have a safe week. Please be careful. Right. Take care of yourselves out there. Help yourself and help somebody else.
Love you. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Yep. Much love, much respect. Till next time.
Till next time. Good night, folks.